I want to speak about health through the lens of hydration. And typically the topic that I dive deep into when it comes to hydration is exclusion zone water. And I've got a lot of content on exclusion zone or EZ water. But in particular today, I want to dive into drinking structured water and if there's any actual health benefits that have been documented to drinking structured water. And to understand why I discuss through the lens of a practitioner, the reason why I discuss water and hydration so extensively, and it's one of my favorite topics, is because literally the vast majority of people in this world are chronically, unintentionally dehydrated. And a lot of it has to do with our modern lifestyles. So there's many things that we know that can create dehydration, both through a diminished production of water through the mitochondria, in conjunction with a decrease in the amount of exclusion zone water inside of our cells, and also just then naturally a diminishment of the water inside of our blood volume. And that would be things like an environment that is high in non-native EMFs, that impairs mitochondrial water production and decreases exclusion zone water inside of us. It could, in conjunction with an environment that is high in blue light. So these blue lights from bulbs and screens, they also impair mitochondrial water production. And then stress. Stress in and of itself is also known to change the amount of or impair the ability of mitochondria to make water and ATP. So how many of your clients are stressed out and work or live in an environment that is high in non-native EMFs and high in artificial blue light? The vast majority of people. And so what I think that people don't realize then is the fact that they're living in this state of chronic dehydration and the many, many symptoms that are associated with being in this state of chronic unintentional dehydration. That particular phrase, chronic or persistent unintentional dehydration, was coined by an Iranian physician, Dr. Batmanghelidj, who wrote so many books about treating prisoners that he was actually an Iranian physician who was imprisoned himself during the Iranian Revolution. And he was asked to treat fellow prisoners, being an MD, who was imprisoned. He was asked to treat fellow prisoners who were coming to complain about things like ulcers and migraines and chronic pain and even autoimmune disease. And what he found was that the only thing that he had at his disposal to support these prisoners with and their health conditions was telling them to drink more water. And picture a prison environment, right? Picture a prison environment. Yes, at the time it wasn't full of non-native EMFs, probably wasn't full of a lot of blue light toxicity in the same way that we have it these days, but that would be a highly, highly stressful environment, which would impair mitochondrial water production. And so likely these prisoners were in a persistent state of chronic unintentional dehydration. And what Dr. Batmanghelidj had at hand was to offer them more water. And time again, we're talking about countless hundreds, if not thousands of times, when he was presented with a prisoner who was expressing some sort of symptom or pain or inflammation or migraine headache or autoimmune condition, he gave them more water. And he would see symptoms drastically dissipate. So that led him, once he got out of prison, and he actually asked to stay in prison longer than he needed to be in order to continue this observation, this experiment, because he was so fascinated by the results. He, as a traditional physician, was seeing all of these results with simply giving these prisoners more water to drink. Now, there is something about hydration. It's not necessarily about drinking more water. And I talk so much in my hydration module, my practitioner hydration module, about water and the type of water we drink and needing to drink good quality water. And so what I want to talk about here is, though, the vast majority of your clients are likely to have chronic unintentional dehydration. And so what can that look like as symptoms that I see a lot? I see actually that look a ton like histamine intolerance or an exacerbation of histamine-related symptoms. I see it look like chronic pain, chronic fatigue. I see it look a lot like issues with blood volume and maintaining blood volume. I see POTS, dysautonomias with chronic unintentional dehydration. I see most autoimmune conditions have a component in them that has that chronic unintentional dehydration as well. And in fact, Dr. Batmanghelidj, he literally delineated the biochemical pathway in terms of how dehydration increases histamine, stimulates cytokines of the immune system to lead to tissue destruction in the first place. So he delineated this very specific feedback loop that takes place when someone is in this state of persistent dehydration. And so for me, that is a low-hanging fruit to address with my clients, to try to make sure they have adequate tissue hydration. And yes, exclusion zone water plays a role. I talk about that a lot. Yes, I use Quinton minerals extensively in clinical practice as well. But in terms of you, just as a clinician, maybe being interested in what health benefits have been relieved by both being hydrated and also consuming specifically high quality water, which I would say a big component of that is having that water being structured water. What are the health benefits of consuming structured water? Well, you get improved mitochondrial biogenesis. What does that mean? It means that you're actually generating more mitochondria. So if you have dysfunctional mitochondria, you're able to not only clear those dysfunctional mitochondria through a process called mitophagy, but you're also able, through drinking structured water, you're able to increase the production of new healthy mitochondria. We see increases in zeta potential around red blood cells. So this is when red blood cells have lost their halo of negative charge and they start to stack up. That impairs blood flow. It impairs oxygen delivery to the cells. It impairs nutrient delivery to the cells. It's just not a good state for the blood to be in. And yes, we can reestablish that zeta potential with earthing, but we've also seen that zeta potential reestablished in before and after blood images, live blood analysis from simply drinking structured water. We show a more balanced autonomic nervous system response, it being measured by things like heart rate variability. We see improved secretory IgA levels in people. This was one that I did not expect to see when I started to dive into the research. Secretory IgA is a marker of mucosal immunity, or immunity of the mucosal lining of the gut. And typically when we see that leaky gut and mucosal immunity impaired, we see low secretory IgA levels. Drinking structured water over a period of time, and all of these, some of these take place pretty quickly, like the before and afters in the red blood cells. These other ones were done in studies of about 4 to 8 weeks in duration, sometimes up to 3 months or maybe even more. But we see an improvement in secretory IgA. That's amazing. That means we're seeing improvements in the health of the gut lining and the health of the immune system that's a part of that gut lining. We see improved markers of longevity. So post-drinking structured water, you can see improvements in telomere length. Telomeres are the ends of chromosomes that as the body starts to go through processes of aging, those telomeres start to shorten. And the shortening of telomeres means it can determine the length of a telomere can determine one's longevity, or could be a marker of longevity. So we actually see increased telomere length with drinking structured water, and the activation of different pathways, including the sirtuins, which are linked to longevity. We see improved protein folding. This is really impactful in diseases like preventing Alzheimer's disease, which it has a lot to do with the misfolded proteins. We see reduced visceral fat accumulation. Again, visceral fat accumulation simply from drinking structured water, and a reduction in oxidative stress. And there's others as well, right? So there's so much to be said about making sure your client is adequately hydrated with good quality water. And for me, hydration, yes, it's partly about the water we drink. So I talk all about, in my practitioner training on hydration, all about teaching your clients how to drink the best quality structured water that they can get their hands on. But then there's also the aspect of mitochondrial water production, as well as maintaining exclusion zone water in the body. These are low-hanging fruits. If you can get your clients to be supported by the water that they drink, the water their mitochondria make, and the maintaining exclusion zone water in their body, that goes such a long way towards giving a body the healthy cellular voltage and charge and vitality that it needs in order to truly heal and thrive. So if you're interested, feel free to check out that hydration module. It goes a long way into deep diving into this, so you as a practitioner can start to support your clients through the lens of hydration and water.